Good morning, team. How are we? All right. Happy Monday to my brothers and sisters. All right. So, guys, we're going to be starting this podcast episode in 2 minutes. All right. We're going to be kickstarting in 2 minutes. And it's going to be a big episode for this Monday mindset. So get excited. We're coming at y'all live. Hello, Nikki. Hello, Terry. This is going to be really ironic in about 5 minutes, Terry and Nikki. Okay, so stay tuned, fellas. Hello, Kim. How are you, girl? I hope you're good. All right, so I'm just going to type into the comments live in 2 minutes, and we're going to kickstart this episode very, very shortly. So, guys, how was your weekend? Tell me what's going on. What's going on? Good morning, Nath Scott. How are you, mate? Coming in live. Thanks for joining us, Nath. How's your weekend, Kimbo Slice? Good. How you feeling this morning, Tez? Nice and sore after the big hike. Mate, that's actually what we're going to be talking about in this video, Tez. So I'm super pumped. How was it to meet the crew, Nico? How did you go, mate? Meeting the crew, my legend. Nico, did you get a catch up with Mikey boy after on the Sunday, mate? Hopefully you guys had a good meet up and enjoyed some time together. It looked like a cool little crew that turned up there on the Sunday as well. Great to finally meet a lot of people. Yeah, 100%, Tez. 100%, mate. I love it. Good morning, Sarah. How are you, girl? Good to see you coming in here, Miss Sarah Bald. Hello, Danny Troutman, my legend. How are you, mate? God, I love that profile photo, Dan. It's so beautiful. All right, so guys, we are... Extra stomp on the hangover, yeah, 100%. Hello, Nikki. How are you, girl? I hope you're well. Looking radical in your profile photo too. I like it. And Nikki Jane, how are you, girl? Good to have you in here. It was good to meet. Well, they're all coming in now. All right, good stuff, guys. All right, so we might get started on this episode, I reckon. What do you say? So I'm going to turn our music off and we're going to kickstart this Monday live. I am super, super pumped. Let's go. All right. Good morning, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs. And it seems like in a matter of time going like that, we're already up to episode 70. Episode 70 is titled Mind Over Matter. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this episode. And the reason that I want to talk about this in this episode is to do with the fact that we had a whole bunch of crew getting together for the weekend stomp. I'm yet to pull apart all the conversations that were had and all the victories that were had. I'll speak to Mike and Carly later on today, but the feedback has been amazing. So congratulations to you guys. Now, before we start, I am a man of my word. I said at the end of November, we'll be giving away some cash. This is for people who shared or reviewed the podcast. I'm going to do this a little bit more frequently, but as promised, I am giving away today $600 in cash. And I really do think it's important that if you are part of the Academy, you help us take this message. If you haven't left a bloody review yet, guys, it's your boy Jace. Can you please help us out? You just go to the Apple Podcast player, you scroll down to the bottom of the podcast episodes, and you just basically say, this podcast rocks, or you give your feedback or whatever, and it helps us take this episode to bunches of people. Now, on that note, I said I was going to give away 2 prizes of $300, but instead what I've decided to do is give away 3 prizes of $200 because I can't split these people who have been so bloody supportive of the podcast, and I'm going to name them straight up. What a beautiful way to start your Monday. Number 1 is Mr. Terry Holden. You've just won yourself $200 cash. Nice work, Terry Holden. Number 2 is Mr. 𝐎𝐚𝐭𝐭𝐞𝐫. You just won yourself $200 as well, Nicky boy. Take your missus out for a nice protein feed. And number 3, we've got Mr. Dan Troutman, a constant supporter of this podcast. So you 3 guys, Terry, Nico, and Dan Troutman, are each earning yourselves $200 to start today, just for literally supporting the podcast. It's that simple, right? Guys, I'm about rewarding you guys for supporting us and helping us grow. And in turn, we give back. So guys, in today's episode, by the way, to those gentlemen, I'll be in touch after this podcast. So in today's episode, I want to discuss what happened inside of the weekend, inside of the BBA, as evidence of the fact that mind over matter exists right around the world on Saturday, or if you're on this side of the world, it was Friday. We had a bunch of men and women partaking in what we call in our world affectionately a stomp. So what is a stomp? A stomp, for those of you that don't know or aren't inside the academy, is an intentional walk either by yourself or with a group aimed at increasing your step count for that day. Walking is one of the most underrated activities that one person can do as part of a transformation. Why? Why is walking such an important thing? Well, number 1, it is low impact. I see a bunch of people that, are carrying 20, 30, 40 kilos and more trying to go out and run. That's not a very smart thing to do. It's terrible on your knees and ankles. The thing about walking is that it carries a really, really low injury risk. So this is one of the reasons why we, as part of our plan, we definitely recommend tracking your steps and starting to get those steps up. Now, once a year, people do stomps in little pocket groups or by themselves over the course of a year, but once a year, and we've done it for 2 consecutive years now, and of course, we'll go on and on for the decades to come, we get a group together and we do a large stomp in Australia. What my goal is to see that happen in North America, in Europe, in New Zealand, or wherever else we are. And firstly, before I go into talking about the guys that stomped in Australia, I want to first talk about Mr. Michael Forster and give Michael Forster an absolute rap. Mick Forster went in, he has insomnia, or he really struggles to sleep a lot of the time, and he went in and did a gym session at 3:30 in the morning, and then after that went and stomped a marathon by himself in Seattle, where it was 3 degrees. Like, can you believe that? He went and did a leg session, right? By the way, this is a man that's closing on 40 years old. He's got a wife and kids. He's got a job with Amazon, which is quite stressful. And then he goes out and he decides to do a leg session at 3:30 in the morning and then goes and stomps 42 kilometers by himself, which is the length of a marathon. I think that's worth a shout out. Now, to the guys that were over here with us, myself, Coach Nicky, Coach Cordia, little baby Ocean, we did roughly a 20,000 step stomp. It was a little bit harder because we had baby strapped to our chest. And of course, Coach Nicky has very short legs and finds it very difficult to walk long distances quickly. I've been taking the piss out of Coach Nicky constantly, but it's a good little stomp and we were pretty sore by the end of it. The core group was 25 to 30 crew that gathered on the New South Wales Central Coast and stomped over 20 kilometers, not 20,000 steps, 20 kilometers in one of our local national parks out there. And I'm super excited to have a catch up with Mike and Carly this morning about all the feats. But I wanted to say to you guys that got involved, did a stomp, and I've no doubt, how many of you felt a little bit of social anxiety? Honestly, I still get social anxiety as well. I bet a lot of you sort of thought to yourself, I'm a bit nervous about meeting up with people, but we did it. And not only did we get over the social anxiety, we actually went out and did a massive stomp. I think it's an awesome insight into what's actually possible when you put your minds to something. So let's talk about this idea of mind over matter. What does mind over matter actually mean? Well, in a basic sense, it means the power of the mind to control and influence the body. Yeah, the power of the mind to control and influence the body. The reason I'm doing this episode now is I reckon a lot of you may have reached the point during the stomp where you felt like giving up, right? On the weekend, where you felt like, oh man, like, oh fuck, like what am I doing here? Like, why am I out here walking in the national park on a Saturday morning? Like, I don't have to do this. Why am I doing this? And all those repeating words would have started to come back into your mind, like, why am I doing this? What's the point of all this? But you didn't give up. You were able to take your body to a place that it didn't want to go. You're not necessarily motivated to do it. Because think about it, we're all only motivated to do things that are easy and things that we like doing, like eating food. We're all motivated to eat lots of food. We're not motivated to go and walk 20 kilometers in a national park. So why did you guys actually do it? Well, let me ask you a question. If you were doing the stomp by yourself, would you have gone all the way like you did? Would you have gone all the way like you did? Or would you have perhaps turned back halfway? The reason I'm asking this question is how often in your life would you have given up in the mind far before what you realized the body was actually capable of? Does that make sense? Like, how many of us find ourselves constantly just lacking the willpower to continue going? How often have you had those repeating thoughts like, this is too hard, or I can't do it, and eventually you succumb to your own limiting beliefs? It wasn't that you couldn't physically do it, it was that your mind gave up before your body did. The body was capable of much more, but the mind gave up first. Now, in his book, Can't Hurt Me, Dave Goggins, one of the hardest men in the world, talks about this idea of the 40% rule. And what he says is that when you're ready to give up mentally, you're actually only about 40% through what your body is capable of. Now, I want you to think about that, guys. This means that in most cases, when we're actually giving up, we are capable of another 60%. So if you think of your full potential as 100%, that basically means we're giving up most often when we've still got the other 2/3 left in the tank. Like, just sit and think about that for a moment. Sit and dwell on that and ask yourself, how often is your mind getting in the way of you doing amazing, amazing, amazing things? And certainly that was the case for me. It was definitely the case for me. When I look at my life, I can think of, two easy examples that come to mind. One in the short term, right? If I go into the gym and I have all the notifications on my phone coming through and I'm distracted and I keep worrying about those notifications on my phone instead of focusing on what I'm in the gym to do, I feel weak and I can't lift as much. But when I turn on to do not disturb mode and focus in on what I am in the gym for, all of a sudden I find this like superhuman strength that I don't know is actually there. You've heard of like mothers lifting cars to pull their baby out from underneath, superhuman feats of strength. This is the power of the mind. My strength is enormous when I channel my energy the right way. As a longer term example, I think about when I was in my last job and I'd effectively convinced myself that this safe job was good because it gave me a nice living. What I didn't take into account was the fact that I could do infinitely more in the world if I channeled my energies into something I was truly passionate about. Does this make sense? So let me know, is this something you struggle with? Is this something you struggle with? Getting your mind to focus in on the potential that you have? Let me know in the comments, guys. Do you find yourself like constantly undoing your self-belief with negative self-doubt? How many of you had a breakthrough over the weekend? For those of you that are at the stomp, how many of you had a breakthrough? I've heard about a breakthrough from 𝐿. I've seen a breakthrough from Tracy McLennan, who pulled off her shoe and had a blister the size of a 50-cent piece, but still managed to get through the pain and push through the stomp. Or maybe it was that you were reflecting later that night on what you'd achieved and what you'd pushed yourself through. And maybe you're a 40, 50-year-old man or woman and you're thinking to yourself, my gosh, today I did something that was way outside of my comfort zone and I won. Like I don't do that, but I did it and I won. You know, the hardest thing about having the mindset of mind over matter, of being able to push yourself over and over your comfort zone. You know what the hardest thing about that actually is? It's having the self-awareness to remember what you're actually capable of when you're focused. Everything in our world starts with improving your self-awareness, getting to know yourself. This is the reason why people that do these kind of dumb diets, quick fixes, always looking for the shiny object, yeah, they lose 10 kilograms, but they put it all back on again because they didn't get to know themselves. They didn't become more self-aware. They weren't able to catch themselves when they were having that shitty story starting to repeat and say, wait a second, this isn't me. This is my mind. I'm not using my mind as a tool. My mind is using me. The mind is so bloody powerful. It's so bloody powerful. And if you can harness it in the right manner, unbelievable things are going to happen in your life. But even still, you'll doubt me. You'll get off this podcast or listening later on and you'll think, oh, that was cool. That was a good podcast. That was cool. Yeah, that inspired me. But then because of the lack of self-awareness, we'll go back to the old story. We need a way to root ourselves and remember what we achieved at the weekend. If you were on that stomp or you did your own private stomp and you walked over 20,000 steps, that's not something that's comfortable. But you didn't do what you felt like. You did what you decided to commit and focus on. The one thing this experience proved is that life is so much more enjoyable and doable when you are surrounded by the right people. Let me know if you agree with that. Trent says, absolutely, wasn't giving up for sure. If you were doing that by yourself, Trent, would you have pushed yourself to the same level? No, because it's the people that you surround yourself with. You are indeed the product of the environment. So if you're watching or listening and you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, man, like I need people who pick me up. I need people who are my supporters. I need people who are going to drag me through when I don't feel like it. I want to wake up in the morning and feel like I'm surrounded by people who are trying to better themselves and improve. If you don't have that, it's time to find your crowd. I'd love for that to be the BBA, and it should be. If you've been sitting on the fence just watching for ages, like, what the fuck are you waiting for? What, like, tiptoeing slowly towards a gradual decline in life. It doesn't have to be with BBA. Find your tribe, put yourself around a community and a mentor of people that pick you up. Lastly, to cap off this episode, I want to say a massive, massive congratulations to everyone that did stomp and didn't make excuses and made this a priority in their life. It's just so cool to see the photos, and they continue to come up, and we'll repost more that you guys gathered on the weekend. This is like, for me as, you know, the founder of BBA, this is by far and away my like greatest love, seeing our crew and community winning. People come into the academy because they want to lose fat and they want to transform and all that sort of stuff, but they stay in the academy because of the community and the people that they are surrounded. I'm so proud of you guys for doing what you did on the weekend. Now, as a last thank you to cap out this episode, I want to congratulate Coach Mike and Coach Carly. for the fantastic the job they did with leading the pack. Well done, Coach Carly. Well done, Coach Mike. You guys are amazing coaches, and I love you both so much. And finally, to Miss Kelly Brown, who hosted the after party social. Kel, you're a fucking star. There's no other way to put it. So, guys, that will conclude this episode. Congratulations again to Nico, to Terry, and to Dan Troutman for winning $200 each. We gave away $600 at the start of this episode. Happy days to you guys. Happy Monday, and let's get started on another big week. I love you guys. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout plans, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching.